Hey, it's Brock here with Rockhill Farms, and I'm out here visiting my friend Paul Case today. He's interested in getting one of these skid steer log splitters, and I happen to have one, so I've brought it over to get a second opinion. Now, I actually got this product from Wolferidge to test it out and demonstrate it on the channel, and I was surprised by all the negative comments I got on it. I think this thing's fantastic, but Paul actually earns a good portion of his living from firewood, so I'm gonna let him run it and see what he thinks of it. Now, if I was here to help Paul split wood, I'd run around and line all these up in a straight line so he could cut them a lot quicker. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to see if he likes it, and if he's running it by himself, this is how it's gonna be. I want to go ahead and clarify what I meant earlier when I said I was getting a lot of negative comments. No one had anything negative to say specifically about this Wolferidge splitter. What the conversation turned into was a lot of negativity towards the very idea of having a log splitter on the front of a skid loader. Because, as you can see, you have to move the skid loader over to each firewood round, and that seems, as a viewer I guess, like a slow way to do it. But personally, I've never found a quick way or an easy way to deal with large firewood rounds. So if you compare this to swinging a splitting maul, I'd choose this every day. And it's obviously true that this is for a select group of people who already own a skid steer. But if you already own the skid loader, this is very cost effective compared to a lot of the other types of hydraulic splitters on the market. Uh-oh. Kind of wood you got around here, Paul? I was watching you thinking, man, he's pretty smooth on that thing. Imagine how good he'd be with 2 thumbs.
Well, they don't require any thumbs to do stupid work like this. There might be some skill involved, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I always like to get expert opinions, and I couldn't find one, so you're the closest I got. There's 2 points.
You went way the other way there on that one, didn't you? I'm the opposite of expert.
So when it comes to giving an opinion on a piece of equipment like this, I have 2 separate thoughts. First, in terms of an inverted log splitter, I think Wolferidge makes a really high quality one. It's well built. I don't think you're going to break it. It's American made. And that's what I started off thinking. Just a lot of companies make inverted log splitters. People buy them. It's an established thing. Is Wolferidge a good one? And it seems pretty good to me. But when I posted videos of it, all the comments were negative, or 90% were negative, that it was too slow. So let's start just too slow. Does that seem slow to you for that you just dealt with?
No, not really. You do sit and wait for just a second for it to bust, but I'm not really a commercial operation. I'm not on time restraint, and the things I do with that are going to be things where they're wanting bigger pieces than what I can generally make the Halverson anyway. So I don't think that operates too slow, but usually the speed of it has more to do with the machine you probably got it hooked on too.
So and you can be like hypothetical, but you had that here and you had to split it. What else were you going to do? You like swinging them all, or are you going to throw it in a pit?
No, everything that leaves here in that dump truck, and it was going to leave here in that dump truck somehow. I could find somebody that wanted it. It's kind of like the cut off ends at a sawmill. They're a byproduct, and if you can sell them, good, but you don't want to try to market those to the people you're selling lumber to. So
I've got to the point, I have a couple videos splitting those big rounds with a maul. I've decided it's not worth it. Yeah. Get stuff that you can handle. Unless you've got that, I think it's worth it again.
Have you ever thought about the mechanics of splitting those big pieces with a maul? Let's just say you got one that's 3 foot across, and when you're hitting it with a maul or driving a wedge into it, it has to lift up in the middle, and you're hitting down on it. And so having something like this where the piece is turned on the side actually would make it easier to split. But just about all those pieces that we busted were stuff that I'd went out there and knocked off the Halverson because I couldn't break it. And especially the one that was so tight I had to hit it 2 or 3 times, and finally we rolled it over and hit it a couple times before it ever busted it. That's just the nature of the beast. Some of it's harder wood.
When he says Halverson, if some of you don't know, he's got a Halverson firewood processor that saws it and splits it all off the same unit, but it can only handle smaller stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the next complaint I got, and this one tells me more about the person complaining, but tons and tons of people said you're going to tear up your grass. I was a firewood guy making money selling firewood. How concerned are you about grass in your wood yard?
My wood yard is the driveway at an old chicken farm that has a couple 100-ton of creek gravel underneath the top of it. I get to keep the grass off from it, and I don't have to worry about spraying it or mowing it that way.
My first thought when I think I'm going to split wood in that area is there won't be any grass over there.
Yeah,
it's just how it's going to be.
With tree bark and little pieces of wood. Here's what I have to say about complainers. They'll always surface, and most people who want to complain are not interested in helping you. Otherwise, it would be called constructive criticism, and there's something about constructive criticism I don't like. It's still criticism.
Well, I get a lot of that, and I actually learn a lot from the comments. So there's a lot of good in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to say, last thing about that type of splitter, is it's not made for everybody. Because people are like, oh yeah, if you have a skid loader, well yeah, that's who it's for.
Yeah, or a tractor with a quick touch skid steer.
There are certain things that are for a niche. There is a certain customer for that, and for that person, I think it's a good product. You agree with that?
I do. I got a bunch more of it I'm going to bust up with that before I let it leave here.
You got any stories today? So I'm putting Paul on the spot here. I was asking for a story. He didn't have one prepared, but...
So I'll tell you a story, and then I got to go. Did you hear about the one-armed guy that caught a fish?
No.
It was this long. That's all I got.
Hey, shorter the better. I like that one. So, hey, I think you ought to go get one of those Wolferidge Splitters if you're asking me. But, Paul, I appreciate you making a video with me. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.